If your 10-year-old or 15 or 18 was supposed to be perfect, then he would be working somewhere as a lawyer or an accountant or a fashion designer, paying some bills and even living on their own. But they are not. They are a child. And that's what childhood is about. In today's video, we are going to look at 4 powerful truths that are going to change our perspective about parenting. First will be that childhood is for being a child. The second one will be the need to connect in order to correct. Third, we'll look at how discipline is supposed to be an avenue to teach and not to punish. And lastly, we'll look at parenting ourselves as a role model for our children. So stay tuned and let's dive into it. First point is definitely that childhood is for being a child. No child is born knowing what the name obedience, respect, disobedience, love, hate means. They learn from us, even their reflexes. They come knowing how to suckle, or they learn naturally to suckle, but most of their reflexes they learn by observing us. I have a 3-year-old and I was just recently teaching him how to eat a sweet, the lollipop and the other sweet, and then another time we were eating sugarcane and I realized he does not know how to eat the sugarcane. You know, there you suck on the juice and spit out the remains. He was struggling, like it's not natural to him. He needs to watch, he needs to be taught in order to know how to do. And with all the other aspects of the life of a child as they are preparing to be adults, they need to be taught. There's what they need to be learning at 1 year, at 2 year, at 15, at 18, because they are not yet adult. And so our role as parents is to guide them, to teach them, and to walk with them in that journey as they learn how to accommodate the world. Key aspect that is needful for the childhood stage is play. And when I say play here, I do not talk about the gadget or the video games that we play. It's not the PS4. I'm talking about outdoor play. What outdoor play does, it creates and shapes and gives them the sense of what life looks like, only on a softer and protected ground. It's where children learn how to interact with one another. They learn to sharpen their social skill. They learn to think on their own. They learn how to solve problems. They learn how to interact with people who do not have the same mindset and values as them. They learn what other families are doing, what other cultures are doing. They learn how to accommodate one another. They learn how to defend themselves. They learn how to be smart, how to outsmart someone else. They learn what is competition. They learn what is smart competition. They learn even to stand on their own values. You know, when they are confronted, they learn how to make choices like, I want this, I do not want this. They learn about their own feelings and emotions. This one feels good. When this other person said this, it felt bad. Most of us, if you have young children, we've had a time when your child has said that my other classmates or schoolmates don't want to play with me, and so they were crying. So they also learn emotion, that they get to experience life, only that it's curated in a soft and warm space. So we need to allow our children to go outside and play. I know right now in our world, the dangers on childhood, on facing our children, are so many that many of us are tempted to just keep them indoor, where we can have someone watching over them, or if there's no one watching over them, at least the screens will just keep them busy and we can finish 1 2 3. But as parents, we need to know how to make the environment safe for our children, not to stop them from play, because play also develops their physical muscle, their hands, their legs, as they move, as they interact, even their digestive system. Them interacting with soil, touching leaves, touching trees, touching rocks, being hurt, falling, teaches them how to interact with elements of the weather. Even the sunlight they get is beneficial to their own body. What screen time does is that it gives the children everything they need without them having to work for anything. That way, the brain is not forced, is not allowed to expand or to grow or to think outside the box. Nowadays, we even have screen autism, which is caused by excess exposure to screens by our children, because that is not the natural way for the child's body to grow. So as parents, I would really want to urge us to ensure there is some outdoor kind of play that is happening with our children, especially in this young age, maybe toddlers, young children. Even when they are 15 and 18, let them go outside and interact with people and get the social skill, instead of just always being in the house and locked up with their screen. Another thing about play is that we need to be okay with our children making messes. We need to be okay with them exploring. We need to be okay with them dropping things and destroying things, because that's what childhood is about. As they explore, mistakes will happen. I'm sure all of us, there's no one who was born, for example, knowing how to make a meal or to wash dishes very well. There's a time, if you can remember in your childhood, you tried to help your mom carry plates or cups, and one fell and broke, or you went to wash visitors and water poured. They just something. There are those mishaps are what allows our children to grow, and they are very okay. There are stages in life, or the stages in the life of a child, that we need to be okay with our house being a mess, with things not being in order, because our children want to explore and they want to learn, and they learn by their curiosity. So they may just be curious to reach out to our, like to our flower vase, but on their way to reaching out to the flower vase, they get to knock off a glass and it falls. That's part of childhood. We'll use that as a learning moment, but it's not to say that my child is disobedient or my child is rude, or it's not an opportunity to call them names. No, they are just growing. They are just being a child. As parents also, we can be part of play by teaching them how to think. We've said the play prepares them for life. So as parents also, how we can chip in is, one, we can buy them books in case where you struggle, your child has been on phone for long and you want to substitute. Start leaving books around them. I feel like if you learn today that phones are not good, and then now you go take away the phone immediately, that may be a bit harsh. So what you can do is start introducing fun books, start reading books to them, start growing the culture. And of course, the most effective one is to let them see you read the books. But as you try that, you can start even with coloring books. You can start reading stories. You can start dramatizing stories, so that children now start to use books as a replacement for the screen. Another way that play helps is by us role playing with our children, and we allow them to learn in their childhood how to make key decisions. So how I would give an example is that when you make a decision as a parent, there are some decisions you don't need to involve your children, and whether they like it or not, they just have to go with what you as parents have decided. But you can explain to them why you reached to that decision. So for example, you can let's say you're going for Christmas, you're going to up country to Shago instead for a vacation, like the other schoolmates and friends are doing. So explain to your children that for us, interacting with the extended family, seeing your distant cousin can only happen during this time. So in this Christmas, we're going to prioritize going to Shago and connect with other family, and then on another time of the year, we'll be able to also have our vacation at the coast or wherever we want to travel. So yes, that decision, if you ask them to choose, they would have probably chosen to go to vacation badala kwenda ushago kulala kwa nyumba ya matope. But now just telling them they don't have the right to make that decision, but let them know why you made that decision. Part of play is teaching the children how to make decisions, not what to choose. So you teach them how to make the right choices, not what to choose, because if you're teaching them what, you're forcing them, and that's not allowing them to grow. That like putting a shelter and a caveat to what childhood is supposed to be like. So our role is to teach them how, not the what to. Allow play in all form. Play with them, spend time with them. It's a key part of being a child. Second truth is connecting in order to correct our children. So the first thing we need us to understand is our children do not plan to do wrong. They do not sleep strategizing how they are going to mess up your day. Your 3-year-old did not plan that I'm going to come rushing into mom's room and then accidentally hit her favorite perfume, and then it will fall and break down. I know that will frustrate you, but understand that your child did not plan to frustrate you. No child goes to bed thinking, how can I make mom and dad's life miserable tomorrow? Most of the things that they do that really get to us, they are just mistakes. They are not premeditated. They are not evil. They did not plan to frustrate your life. They're just being children and have made a mistake. Some of these things, you just need to take a deep breath, relax, and let them go. But then there are other things, there are other mistakes that they do that you can't just watch them and say, no, he's just being a child, let it be. When you could do like that, you're spoiling the child. So why do children make mistakes, sometimes even when they know better, especially when they know better? Or why do they do things that really get to us as parents and frustrate us as parents? The first reason, which is most common, is that they lack the skill to do better. So maybe you have a 4-year-old who has been throwing tantrums. Like you tell them today they wanted milk, and then now you've heated it to a certain degree and they're throwing tantrums. No, it's too hot. Then you cool it. No, it's too cold. They're just throwing tantrums. That 4-year-old is probably just frustrated by big emotions that he does not have the right words to communicate what they are feeling. And so it's very frustrating to want to communicate something that you do not have the words to say. Sometimes even us as adults, most of us, when we are asked, how are you feeling, or how was your day, it's either good or bad. Most of us in the middle of a situation, we don't have the remembrance or the emotional intelligence to say, no, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling disappointed. We don't have those vocabulary. So imagine if you can struggle at your mature age, what about a 4-year-old? And so they will express those emotions in the best way they know how, and that is to throw a tantrum. So they did not wake up planning to frustrate you. Those children that you're screaming at every morning because they are late to school, they did not wake up planning to frustrate you. They probably do not know better. So yes, there are ways to set up structures to allow them to do better. And sometimes you set up plans and still things don't go the right way. Children just don't know better, and with time, things most of these things will be sorted out if we are diligent enough to correct them as their parent. The other thing is that sometimes the children are just testing your limits, especially from ages 6 to 10, 11. These are children that you've already taught what is right, what is wrong, what we do as a family, what we do not do, what are our values, what we can accommodate, what we cannot. And so you say that no, playtime ends, for example, at 6. At 6, I need everyone to come to the house so that you take your shower and we start our evening routine. In fact, you even bought them watches and they know how to use a watch. Yet they'll still come at 6:30. They will push the limit. Sometimes they just want to see how we react. How does mom react? Can I get away with this? How much of this can I get away with? And we're going to look at how to deal with that in our next point. Another thing that would be causing them to make these mistakes is because they are learning and they are copying from others, especially in school and during playtime. A child will say, no, me, my mom, even though she says we do this, I don't do this. For example, someone will say, a child in the playground will say, no, me, I don't eat vegetables, and my mom can do nothing about it. So your child comes home and they're like, Mom, I do not want vegetables. They are scratching my throat. I'll not be eating greens again. They are not nice. They taste yucky. It's just probably because they are copying someone else. So these are mistakes that your children are making, and a mistake that you cannot allow to pass by, that we need to correct them. And the most often reason is that they're just looking for attention. Children have a deeper need for connection and attention, sometimes more than we do as adults. Every person on earth wants to be loved, every human being. But the need for children, and especially to get attention and love from their parents, is far much greater. The reason being, from the love they receive from us as their parents is where they form their identity, it's where they get their security, it's how they even form their own perspective and concept of who they are as human beings. It's like they are looking at us to define them and to define what is love, what are the boundaries, how can I be accepted, am I good enough. It's like they're asking those questions but not in those exact words. So sometimes they will throw tantrums, they will speak back, they will just do things just to get your attention. I remember a counselor once saying to me that to children, even negative attention is better than no attention. So my boy would probably just misbehave at the wrong time when I'm having guests, and I was really getting frustrated. And I was told that me even stopping to attend to my guest to go and beat him, to him that was getting attention. It's better than him being ignored. And imagine, that's so sad if we do not know. But now once we know that they just are looking for connection, they're just looking for attention from us, then when they make some of these mistakes, then we know how to address them. So how do we get to connect with our children before now we can correct these mistakes? The first thing that will allow us to really connect to the heart and the mind and the soul of our children is by accepting them unconditionally, not for what they have done or what they did not do, not in comparison with sibling one and sibling three, not for what you think they will do because of a skill that you have seen they have, but accept them and love them unconditionally for who they are. When as parents we make peace in our own minds and heart that this is my child likes to do this, my child is gifted in books but not in sport, or my child is very good at memorizing things, but when it comes to writing, that's not his kind of study. Once we get to accept our children as they are and we stop trying to change them, trying to make them number one in school. Of course, it's good for them to perform well according to their abilities, but not to force them to be someone else. It gives us peace in our hearts, in our minds as we parent, and also creates an environment where we can really embrace that child, not looking for an error, but exactly for who they are. And with energies a child can feel when they are completely loved and accepted. And what connecting to our children in a level whereby you have accepted them unconditionally, it gives you influence over them. So as parents, we have authority over our children. We can tell them, do this, don't do this, and they will do. That's what authority looks like. Influence would mean that even when you're not there, they will do the right thing because they have agreed with you that what you want for them is actually the right thing. So for example, you say, as a family, our values are that we do not watch secular music. So by the time you get home, they know you get home by 6:30. At that time, they put the gospel songs on YouTube or wherever they are listening to, and so you're like, yeah, this is what our children do. But when you're away, they are with the nanny, or when they go to visit a relative or ushago, they will watch the same secular music. That is what authority looks like. Influence would mean that even though you're not there, they are with their nanny, they have gone to visit their cousin, and even it's your uncle who has put that secular music, they'll say like, in my values are that I cannot watch this, and so I'm going to step away. So influence is better than authority. Yes, authority is good, but influence gives you an added advantage because your children do not need you to supervise what they are doing, especially if you have teenagers or young adults where now they can just look down at your authority and just decide, no, I'm not going to do what mom has said. Influence is what will allow you to continue shaping their lives even as teenagers, because you know what, even teenagers are still children and they need our wisdom. The other thing is to know that the love language of a child is time. Love to a child is spelled as capital T, capital I, capital M, capital E. You cannot love your child in absentia. You cannot love your child when you are away. Gifts and paying school fees, those are responsibilities that we do. I know it's hard work and we struggle, but then we need to give them time. A child will remember the memories you created with them. Sometimes below the age of 6, for example, they may not remember the exact memory, but they will remember how it felt when you spent that day with them, how it felt when you went for that road trip with them. The time spent with your children is what your children will interpret as you love them. It's not that you've taken them to a good school, and by now we know that even children in the most expensive of schools are going to say, no, my mom does not love me because she's always traveling outside the country. So we need to make time to be with our children, and this is physically being present with them as they go through life, as they navigate through life, as they go through their challenges, as you teach them how to wash dishes, how to wash clothes, how to make their bed, how to take a shower. Those are physical ways to spend time with your children and mark those landmark steps with them, but then also emotionally connecting with them and seeing them as a person, seeing who they are, what they like, what makes them happy, what doesn't make them happy, celebrating them. I remember when most of us, when we first get pregnant, we are overjoyed, especially then when we give birth. We are like, this is the baby I prayed for, God has answered. We are looking at that child when they are sleeping and we're saying like, this is an angel sent to me. When they are toddlers, we come home after a hard day and then they give you a hug and you're like, no, God, I know heaven is smiling at me, because the hug you get from your baby is just healing. Now that gift you knew your child to be as a toddler, even when they are 15 and they are causing you chaos, you need now to look at them, at their emotions, understand where they are, and connect with them at that level. We should pray and guide our minds that the thought of them not being a gift to us will never cross our mind, that we shall always celebrate them as a gift. When they come home, maybe they are in boarding school, they have been away for 3 months. When they come home, hold a bash, buy them a card, buy them a gift, like, wow, I missed you so much, I really wanted you here, I celebrate you being here. Let them know they are very important to you, that they make us happy, and they honestly are a gift from God. So even when they do not have the capacity to understand why I cannot go for a sleepover when all the other children are going, because you take time to connect with them, because you take time to see them as a human being, you take time to celebrate their gift, you take time to look at their weaknesses and try to understand why they did this, then they will be able to respect that. Because we know as parents, we don't have time to explain all the sins and all the evils that can happen to our children. Sometimes you just need them to obey that, you know what, we are not going to do sleepovers. I have had enough bad news about sleepovers. My children, I'm not going to allow you to do a sleepover. I cannot explain the depth of the evil that happened in these sleepovers, but trust me on this. And we don't want your child, your 13-year-old, sneaking out at night to go for a sleepover. So seek to connect. Once you have connected at that level, once they know they are totally loved unconditionally and they are seen as a person and celebrated, then now we can correct the mistake. We can now discipline when a mistake happens. And that's our point number 3. Third wisdom we are learning today is that we need to use discipline as a platform to teach and not to punish our children. This would mean that when a child makes a mistake, one, we need to teach them and lead them to understanding why this is a mistake, what the mistake is, and for them to own it before now we can correct or met the right discipline that is needed for that mistake. So for example, your child has just come out from outside with a ball. They were playing, everything is in good time, then he's just throwing it up and down, and by mistake it bounces harder than he had expected. It knocks off a plate or a vase and it breaks. So in this scenario, the mistake is not that the plate broke or the vase broke. The mistake is that they were playing ball in the house. So they need to understand what the mistake is and own it before now you can correct it. And now, before now you can correct it. So you'll use that mistake to teach them why playing in the house is wrong, and then the consequence that comes from that, if maybe you have said it enough times or if you've taught them before that ball is used outside. In the house you don't play ball, so then now you can decide on the discipline measure to follow after that. Another way about disciplining is that we need to be very consistent on the discipline or the values that we need our children to enact. As we said, one of the reasons why children make mistake is they are testing our limits. They want to see how far can you go, or are you serious when you said something. So they will test to see whether we are serious. So for example, you said that in your house you brush our teeth twice, morning and evening. So even on that lazy evening where they are sleeping on the couch and they want to be carried to bed, you will not say because they have slept, let us just skip brushing our teeth this evening. It will be no, in this house we brush our teeth before going to bed. So no, you're not sleeping on the couch. I know you're tired. I know today's game was fantastic. I know you scored 5 goals, but my dear, let's go brush our teeth. So be very consistent. Whatever you start, you start immediately. Start now when you see there is a need to implement that value, and then be consistent. Even when they test you, be consistent on what you've told them to on what you expect your children to do in terms of discipline. Then the third one is that use discipline measures that apply to the mistake that was done. So in the example of not playing the ball in the house, you can decide, because it's the ball that has an issue, you can take away the ball maybe for 2 days or 3 days. Say like I have said enough time, when you come with the ball to the house and you're playing, I'll be keeping it away. So for the next days, you'll go outside, but you'll not go with the ball. And also, yes, so use a discipline measure that aligns to the mistake that was done. I've just remembered where we live, we have a live fence surrounding our home. So when we moved here, like around 6 months down the line, my boy had created a panya route in the fence. So the house looks like this, and then there's a gate there, and then the playing field is somewhere here. So instead of going outside to the gate, the normal route is you go outside to the gate, then go around to the playing field. But he's allowed to go to the playing field, so that's not a mistake. And the playing field is just here. So he decided, instead of going around looking for the key, having to negotiate with the auntie whether I can go out now or not, he just created a panya route here that it's 1 minute to go and come back. And of course, when I saw it as an African parent, I was like, how mischievous can this boy be? Yani bad behavior imetufikisha hapa, unanibomolea fence. But I called him first and decided, before I give out my discipline, which was supposed to be several canes, let's just find out why he did that. And so when we asked him why he did that, his look was very interesting, because for him, he was very proud of himself. Like Superman, like he had discovered and he had done something very good. In his thinking, he was like, instead of going round, let me just create a shortcut. It's faster, it saves time, and then even when you call me back home, I don't need to use 3 minutes to go around. I'll just sneak in 1 minute and I'm at home. Like for him, it was like he had discovered and solved a problem that he was wondering, why hasn't anyone else solved the problem before. He did not think about security. He was not thinking about aesthetics, the flowers, or anything. That was not his concern. And now knowing this, the discipline, it was not a mischievous act that we needed to beat. It was not bad behavior, but to help him understand that his way of thinking is not really the right way of thinking. It became a teaching moment of how to think about live fence and what fences are used for in a home setup. And then the discipline measure that was employed, beating him would not correct the hole in the fence. So we needed a discipline measure that corrects the mistake that he did. And so because he's 7 years, so we told him to come with enough sticks, to put the sticks on the fence, and then plant some flowers and then water them. So this is a discipline measure. Yes, it's work, it's outside his comfort zone, but it corrects the mistake that he has already made. Beating him will cause him pain, but it has not rectified the mistake that he's made. So when you're looking for a discipline measure, look for something that corrects and aligns to the mistake that was done. And then the last one about disciplining is that we need to speak love and communicate discipline even with love, and not as a way of disconnecting. I have a problem with the idea of when a child does something wrong, you send them to a corner to think about their life. Because this is a child. What are they thinking? They do not have the reasoning you have to weigh good pros and cons against their life. By the time you're sending them to a corner, what is going through their mind is that I'm not good enough. I failed mom again. When will I be like sibling A who is never sent to the corner? We create a disconnect between us and our children. Or so instead of sending them to a corner, why not take that time the mistake has happened? Of course, cool down so that you're not speaking in anger, but then understand where they came from, and then teach them a different way to think about that scenario so that they do not make the same mistake again. Last wisdom is about parenting ourselves. Yes, you need to parent yourself more than you parent your child. This is why. Have you found yourself in a situation whereby you reacted in a way that your mother would? Or how you run your house is the way your mom used to do? How you give your children that eye? How your morning routine and evening routine is exactly the way your mom used to do it? Have you wondered why? The reason is that as children, we learn and we replicate the life that we lived, not what we were told, including even the bad behaviors. Maybe you grew up being shouted at and you are like, when I get children, I will never yell at them. Then they just do something, they trigger you and you're yelling, and then you're wondering, why can't I control myself? Why am I yelling? Why am I doing the same thing that was done to me, to my child? The truth is that it's because you carry and you live the life that you saw being lived, both for men and for women. If you find a man who beats the wife, chances are they saw the dad do that. If they are into drugs, chances are in their home they grew up with that behavior. As children, you live the reality you grew up in, not necessarily what you were told. In order to change that, you need to do a lot of work. But the natural inclination is to replicate what you saw happening in your homestead when you are young. And it's for that reason that now we need to parent ourselves even before we look at our children. So if you do want your children to be children of integrity, if you want them to be honest, if you want them to love books, if you want them to have the social character to know how to interact with people and respect people, then they need to see that in you and I. For example, if you're struggling to put your phone down when you get home, you know your child is always calling on you and you're saying 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, and you're never putting your phone down. And then you tell your children that no, you're only allowed 1 hour screen time, then you put your phone down. That is not what is going to happen, because children will learn by the life you live, not necessarily what you tell them. So if we need our children to have the values that even us we do not have, say for example you are yelling at your children and you do not want that to be passed down, then you need to parent yourself and stop yelling. If you have an outburst of anger, if you slam things when you're angry, if you talk back to your spouse, if you talk back to people, if you're a gossiper and you do not want those traits to be passed down to your children, then you need to deal with them with yourself. You need to parent yourself. If you're not disciplined in how you wake up or in how you spend your money, in the routines you have, you don't have the moral authority to now teach the same to your children. And even though you teach them in words, they will not copy what you teach them in words. They will do exactly how you do life. So if they see you one day you have money, we are going outside, we are going to the coast, we are flying out of the country, then on January you're saying, my children, we do not have school fees, they will repeat the exact same thing. So if you need to be financially smart, then you need to do that for yourself, then your children will mirror the life you are living, and that is what is going to parent them. So part of being a good parent and successful parenting is parenting yourself, so that you don't have to worry about the image that is being projected, the image, the book that your children are learning in the life that they are living with you. I was just thinking that one of the success signs as a parent is when your child wants to be like you. If your child says, like for example, when I grow up I want to be like mom, like she walks in a room and even though everyone was sad, everyone just bubbles up, there's joy, she loves everyone, she makes me feel seen, she makes me feel beautiful, she makes me feel like I'm the only child, like the most important human being on earth. She cooks nice meals, she's organized, she takes us out. Like when I'm talking to her, she just put her phone down and look at me and talk to me. If your child says that about you, they want to be like you, then you are doing a good job. If you're a man and your son or your daughter says that I want to be like my father when I grow up, he's so organized, he's able to hold his calm even when there's a conflict and people are fighting in the whole extended family, my dad will just be quiet and watching, then he will speak and give wisdom. And then your child is like, when I grow up I want to be like my dad. That tells you you're doing a good job. You've managed to parent yourself, and so your children are copying the right blueprint or template for their future lives. So to conclude, I want to leave us with this quote I'll read by L.R. Nost. He says that many people believe that parenting is about controlling children's behavior and training them to act like adults. However, parenting is about controlling your own behavior and acting like an adult yourself, because children will learn from the way they live, not what you tell them. Okay, so children learn by the way we live, not what you tell them. So parent ourselves first, then you've done a good job to parent our children. So if you like this kind of content, then I'm sure you will love the video pinned below about your child being a seed of God and a legacy carrier. It will help you see parenting through the eyes of purpose and destiny, because you and I are not just raising children, we are raising world changers.